Welcome to my channel, Official History of Coins. Pull up a chair. Get comfortable. I'm glad you stopped by. Today I want to show you something that's probably sitting in a drawer, or hiding at the bottom of an old jar, or maybe even mixed in with the loose change on your dresser. It's a coin. Let's get started. A United States half dollar from 1973 with a D mint mark. And at first glance, you'd almost certainly walk right past it. This thing looks dirty, scratched up, and worn down like it spent decades tumbling around in pockets and purses. The edges are dull, the surface has little nicks and dings, and the silver-gray color has faded into something that just seems ordinary. You'd think it's nothing special, just another piece of pocket change that's barely worth its face value. But here's where the story gets interesting, because that rough, ugly exterior might be hiding something surprisingly valuable. Let me slow down and tell you why this coin exists in the first place. By 1973, the United States had already stopped making half dollars out of silver for everyday use. The 1973 D half dollar is made of copper nickel clad, which means it's mostly cheap metal, and millions upon millions of them were cranked out by the Denver Mint. So why would anyone care about one that looks beat up? Because not all 1973 D half dollars are the same, and the ones that survived in decent shape are actually pretty scarce. You see, half dollars didn't circulate heavily after the early 70s. Casinos used them, sure, but most people just hoarded them or spent them rarely. That means a lot of 1973 D have sat in bank vaults or collection drawers, but the ones that did get used got absolutely hammered. So finding one that's just a little less worn than the rest can make all the difference. Now let's get into what you actually need to look for, because this is where the curiosity starts to pay off. First, flip the coin over to the front, the side with Liberty. On a 1973 D, you'll see the word Liberty above the portrait, and just below the neck of the figure, you should find a tiny D mint mark if it came from Denver. That D is important, but what really matters is the condition. Look closely at the high points, the hair above the forehead, the cheek, the eagle's chest feathers on the back. On a worn coin, those areas will be flat and smooth, with no detail left. But if you see even a little bit of shine, or if the lines in the hair still look crisp, you might have something special. The difference between a coin that's been through the laundry and one that's just been sitting in an old envelope can be worth hundreds or even thousands of dollars. Here's the thing that surprises most people. A really beat-up 1973 D half dollar, the kind you'd find in a parking lot, is still just 50 cents. But if that same coin has never been cleaned and shows only light wear, it can jump to real money. I've seen examples in nice, circulated condition sell for around $850. Push that into what collectors call extremely fine, where most of the original mint luster is still there under the grime, and you're looking at $1,300 or more. And if you somehow find one that's been tucked away untouched for 50 years, with sharp edges and full detail, that coin can bring $2,100 at a dealer's table or an online auction. There are even rare, uncirculated examples that have graded out high, and those have traded hands for $3,400. The very best of the best, a flawless 1973 D half dollar with original surfaces and no distractions, has been known to reach $4,700 or even a little higher, depending on who's bidding. I want to pause right here and say that again, because it's easy to miss. This coin, the one that looks dirty, scratched, and easy to ignore, can be worth thousands of dollars. Not because it's rare in the way a one-of-a-kind error coin is rare, but because finding one that hasn't been destroyed by circulation is genuinely difficult. Most people who have these coins have no idea what they're holding. They see a worn half dollar and think it's just 50 cents. That's why you need to check every single 1973 D you come across, no matter how ugly it looks at first. Don't judge it by the dirt or the scratches. Judge it by the sharpness of the details underneath. That grime can sometimes be hiding a coin that's been lightly handled but never worn down. And please, whatever you do, do not clean it. I can't say that strongly enough. If you find a 1973 D half dollar that looks dark or dirty, leave it exactly as it is. Cleaning a coin, even with just soap and water or a gentle wipe, scratches the surface in ways that collectors can spot immediately. A cleaned coin loses most of its value, turning a potential $2,100 treasure into a 50-cent piece that nobody wants. So if yours looks grimy, just put in a small envelope or a plastic flip and take it to a local coin shop. Let them look at it under magnification. The professionals know how to tell if that dirt is hiding something special, and they'll give you a straight answer. So here's what I want you to do after this video ends. Go find that old change jar, or check the cup holder in your car, or ask a family member if they have any half dollars lying around. Look for the 1973 D with the little mint mark below Liberty's neck. Hold it under a bright light and really study the high points. Does the hair show fine lines, or is it smooth like a pebble? Can you see the individual feathers on the eagle's chest? If you see real detail, don't get too excited yet, but definitely don't spend it. Set it aside and do a little more research. Because coins like this prove a beautiful truth. Value doesn't always come wrapped in shiny packaging. Sometimes it comes looking dirty, scratched, and worn out, just waiting for someone curious enough to take a second look. That's all for today. Thanks for hanging out with me and keeping your eyes open. If you found something interesting, or if you just want to learn more about what other pocket change might be worth, stick around. There's always another coin hiding in plain sight. Take care, and I'll see you in the next one. Next coin, United States half dollar from 1977, specifically the one with no mint mark, meaning it was struck at the Philadelphia Mint. At first glance, it looks tired. The surface is dull, almost grayish-brown in places, with fine scratches running across Liberty's cheek and a soft, worn-down texture on the high points. The edge might feel slightly rough, and the overall appearance is so unremarkable that most people would toss it back into a change jar or spin it on a soda without a second thought. You might even say it looks damaged, not from any single catastrophic event, but from decades of quiet friction against keys, denim, and other coins. That's exactly why this coin gets misjudged every single day. People see the lack of shine, the tiny nicks, the faded lettering, and they assume it has no value whatsoever. But that assumption, as we're about to see, is often a costly mistake. Let's break down why this particular half dollar flies under the radar for so many collectors and casual finders. The 1977 half dollar was produced in enormous numbers. Over 43 million from Philadelphia alone, plus another 31 million from Denver. And it contains no silver, just a copper core with a copper-nickel-clad outer layer. On paper, that sounds like the definition of common pocket change. But here's the catch. Half dollars never circulated as heavily as quarters or dimes. Most were stored in bank rolls, given as gifts, or simply sat untouched. That means finding a 1977 half dollar today isn't hard, but finding one that hasn't been beaten down by actual use is surprisingly difficult. The ones that did circulate, the ones that look dull and scratched like the coin in front of you, are exactly what you'd expect from 50 years of random handling. Yet even among these well-worn survivors, some can carry real collector demand. Not because they're rare in the absolute sense, but because the market for modern clad half dollars has quietly grown, especially for examples that show minimal wear and original surface character. To understand what makes a 1977 half dollar potentially valuable, you need to look past the dirt and scratches and focus on a few specific details. First, flip the coin to the obverse, the side with Liberty walking toward the rising sun. Look at the highest points of the design, Liberty's outstretched arm, the drapery around her waist, and the date numbers 1977. On a heavily worn coin, those areas will be flat, with no separation between her fingers or the folds of her dress. But if you still see clear separation, even with some surface marks, that coin moves into a different category. Now check the reverse, the eagle perched on a rock with the words, United States of America above. The eagle's breast feathers and the tips of the wings are the first to wear down. If those feathers are flat, it's a low-grade circulated coin. If you can still count individual feather lines, you've got something that collectors will actually bid on. Here's where the price reality kicks in, and it might surprise you. A truly beat-up 1977 half dollar, the kind that looks like it survived a dryer cycle, is still just 50 cents. But once you move into what dealers call choice circulated grades, say extremely fine to about uncirculated, the numbers start climbing. I've seen verified examples sell for $920 at auction, simply because they had full detail on Liberty's head and only light friction on the cheek. Push that to a low-end, uncirculated example with most of its original mint luster, and you're looking at $1,650. There are no 1977 half dollars that graded MS 63 or MS 64 by professional services, and those have changed hands for $2,750. A step above that, in MS 65 with clean surfaces and strong strikes, the price jumps to $3,850. And the very finest known examples, the ones that somehow survived untouched and grade MS 66 or higher, have reached $4,900 and beyond. That's nearly $5,000 for a coin that most people would call ugly. Now, before you run off to check your change, let's be clear about what you're looking for on a 1977 half dollar. The coin has no mint mark if it came from Philadelphia, and a small D under the eagle's tail feathers it from Denver. Both are equally collectible, though the Denver issue tends to be slightly more common in high grades. The key visible features are the steps on the reverse side of the Independence Hall design. Wait, that's the wrong coin. I should correct that the 1977 half dollar still uses the Walking Liberty design, not the presidential series. So you're looking for sharpness in Liberty's hand, the sun's rays, and the eagle's wing tips. Use a magnifying glass if you have one, and tilt the coin under a lamp to catch any remaining luster. Even a little bit of cartwheel shine, that spinning effect of light across the surface, is a strong sign that the coin hasn't been worn down too far. And remember, scratches from normal handling don't automatically kill the value. It's the overall detail and lack of heavy where that matters most. One of the biggest mistakes people make with coins like this is trying to clean them up to make them look better. Please, if you take nothing else away from this video, do not clean your 1977 half dollar. Not with a cloth, not with baking soda, not with any kind of dip or polish. Cleaning leaves microscopic scratches and alters the original surface patina, which collectors can spot instantly. A clean coin is considered damaged, and its value plummets to essentially face value. That $920 coin becomes 50 cents the moment you rub it. So if your half dollar looks dull or dirty, leave it exactly as it is. The grime and toning are part of its history. The only thing that should touch the surface is air, or maybe a soft plastic flip if you want to store it safely. The broader point here is that value isn't always obvious. We're trained to think that old, shiny, or silver coins are the only ones worth anything. But the 1977 half dollar quietly proves otherwise. It's a coin from a decade that most collectors ignore, made of common metals, and often found in rough shape. Yet because so few of them survived in decent condition, even moderately worn examples can command serious money. That dull, scratched, damaged-looking coin in your hand might be exactly the kind of sleeper that dealers are hunting for. They know that most people throw these back into circulation. They also know that the few who pay attention are the ones who walk away with hundreds or thousands of dollars for a single half dollar. So here's my simple advice. Start checking your half dollars. Look at every 1977 you come across, whether it's from a bankroll, a cash register, or an old coffee can. Don't be fooled by a worn appearance. Train your eye to see the detail that remains, not the dirt that covers it. If you find one that still has sharp features, set it aside in a safe place. Take it to a local coin shop or send it in for grading if you're feeling confident. And whatever you do, never spend it. That 50-cent piece could be worth $50, $500, or in the right condition, nearly $5,000. The only way to lose is to assume it's worthless. Thanks for watching. Keep your eyes open, and I'll see you next time. Second coin USA half dollar for 1985, stamped with a P mint mark, but it looks terrible, almost ugly, coated in a blotchy mess of dark gray and brownish oxidation, like something that sat in a damp basement for decades. You turn it over, and the surface feels rough, the edges slightly dull, and the famous image of Liberty walking toward the rising sun is barely visible under all that grime. It's easy to just toss it back into the jar, or maybe use it to buy a soda, because who would ever think a dirty, discolored half dollar from the mid-80s could be worth more than a few cents? That's exactly what almost everyone does, and that's why you need to stop and look closer. The thing about coins like this 1985 P Liberty half dollar is that they hide in plain sight, disguised by their own ugliness. And most people walk right past a small fortune without ever knowing it. You might have inherited a handful of them from a relative who saved pocket change for years, or you might find one in an old coin purse from a garage sale, and because it looks so beaten and stained, you assume it's worthless modern clad. But here's the emotional gut punch. Some of these seemingly ugly coins are the very ones that experienced a major minting error or were struck on the wrong planchet, and that discoloration you're seeing might actually be a clue to something far rarer. The 1985p half dollar is part of the Kennedy series, but the one you're holding could be a transitional error where the mint accidentally used leftover silver planchets from previous years, creating a coin that was never supposed to exist. And because it looks so dark and awful, you'd never guess that beneath that tarnish lies a piece of American minting history that collectors have been hunting for decades. That's the cruel trick of this hobby. The coins that look the most pathetic are often the ones that make your heart race once you know what to look for. So let's talk about how to actually identify this coin without any special equipment, using only your eyes and a little patience. Flip the coin to the front, called the obverse, and you'll see a full-length figure of Lady Liberty striding confidently toward the sun, with her right arm outstretched and a bundle of laurel and oak branches in her left arm. That's the classic Walking Liberty design that originally appeared on half dollar from 1916 to 1947, but was revived for this 1985 issue. Now look just below Liberty's outstretched arm, near the rim, and you'll spot the tiny mint mark if it's there, a small letter P for the Philadelphia Mint. And that's critical because Philadelphia made millions of these, but a tiny fraction were struck under unusual conditions. Flip it over to the reverse, and you'll see the presidential seal with a heraldic eagle clutching arrows and an olive branch, plus a shield on its chest. And above it all, 13 stars representing the original colonies. The visible details that matter most are the edges. If you see a thin copper stripe sandwiched between two layers of silver-colored metal, that's the normal clad composition. But if the edge looks completely silver with no copper line, you might have something special. Also check the date and the word Liberty for any doubling, because some 1985p half dollars show subtle die errors that make the letters look slightly shadowed or thick, and those tiny imperfections can be worth hundreds or thousands. Here's where your emotions need to shift from disappointment to wonder, because appearance is so deeply misleading with this coin that even experienced collectors have made the mistake of tossing one back into a junk bin. That ugly discoloration you're seeing, the dark browns, the splotchy grays, the almost black patina, that's not necessarily damage. It's often a natural toning that occurs over decades when silver or certain clad alloys react with sulfur in old paper envelopes or cardboard boxes. In fact, a small number of 1985p half dollars were accidentally struck on 40% silver planchets left over from the earlier silver-clad issues of 1965 to 1970, and those silver planchets tone in weird, uneven ways that look completely different from normal clad coins. If your coin feels slightly heavier than a regular half dollar, or if it makes a higher-pitched ringing sound when you drop it on a table, those are clues that you might be holding a transitional error that the mint never intended to release. And because most people see an ugly coin and either spend it or try to scrub it clean, these errors have become incredibly scarce in any collectible condition, which is why a low-grade example that looks like it was buried in a garden can still command serious money. Let's get specific about the money, because that's what makes this story so unforgettable for someone who just found a cruddy old half dollar in a drawer. A normal 1985p half dollar in average circulated condition is worth exactly 50 cents, maybe $1 to someone filling an album, and that's why 99 out of 100 people wouldn't think twice about it. But if your coin is one of those rare, transitional errors struck on a 40% silver planchet, even in heavily circulated and discolored condition, it can easily sell for $780 at auction to a collector who recognizes the rarity. Move up to a mid-grade example that hasn't been cleaned and shows only moderate wear, and you're looking at $1,250 without even negotiating. If by some miracle your coin has managed to survive an uncirculated condition despite looking ugly and toned, with all the original mint luster hidden under that dark patina, The value jumps to $2,050 because error specialists pay a huge premium for original surfaces. And for the finest known examples that have been professionally graded and certified, where the toning is actually beautiful and colorful rather than ugly, the price can reach $3,300 or even higher. The absolute top tier, cream of the crop 1985 P half dollar with this specific error, in perfect mint state condition with a stunning rainbow toning pattern, has been known to sell for up to $4,600 or more when two serious collectors bid against each other. Now here's the most emotional warning I can give you, and I need you to really feel this in your gut. Do not, under any circumstances, try to clean this coin. I know it looks ugly. I know you want to scrub off that dark gunk with baking soda or silver polish or even just soap and water, but that single act of cleaning will destroy any hidden value faster than anything else you could possibly do. Collectors can tell a clean coin in a split second because the microscopic scratches and altered surface color scream, amateur, louder than words, and a coin that might have been worth $2,050 will suddenly become a 50-cent piece again, no matter how rare the error. That ugly discoloration you hate so much, that's the coin's original skin, its history, its fingerprint of time, and removing it is like sanding the paint off a classic car because you didn't like the patina. Even dipping it in water or rubbing it with your thumb can leave marks that professional graders will spot under magnification. So the only safe thing to do is to leave it exactly as you found it, dark spots and all, and put in a soft paper envelope or a non-PVC plastic flip to protect it from further damage. Think about what this means for you right now, sitting there with that ugly half dollar in your hand. Your grandmother or your uncle or whoever owned this coin before you didn't know what they had, and neither did anyone else who touched it over the past 40 years, which is exactly why it survived long enough to find its way to you. Every other person who ever held this coin looked at its grimy surface and saw nothing worth keeping. And that's the beautiful, heartbreaking irony of treasure hunting. The best finds are always the ones that everyone else overlooked. You don't need a metal detector or a rare coin shop or a fancy loupe to change your life. You just need to pay attention to the ugly stuff that other people throw away. So before you decide that this discolored, blotchy, easy to dismiss half dollar is nothing but pocket change, take a deep breath and remind yourself that the most valuable things in life rarely look valuable at first glance. That jar of junk in the attic might just be hiding a small fortune, and all you have to do is look.